now that you got your peekaboo style fighting stance down and your basic footwork, now we're going to focus on head movement or defense. Okay, so there's going to be 3 primary movements when it comes to defense. Remember, the peekaboo fighting style, your primary defense is slipping or weaving punches, being elusive. Because once you make your opponent miss, they are in a better position for you to counterpunch with maximum amount of power or bad intentions. So the first movement is slipping. Slipping. So how do we slip? Remember, from your peekaboo stance, remember you're squared off. So what I'm going to do is I slip to the side, and I'm going to do a full range of motion to where I'm slipping to where my head's outside my opponent's shoulder. I'm not doing a basic slip. So let me show you real quick. A peekaboo slip is all the way to the right, all the way to the left. Okay? All the way to the right, all the way to the left. I'm bending more at the waist. It's like an upside down pendulum. You know, if a pendulum swings, upside down pendulum, or like a windshield wiper. Now, when I was talking about the peekaboo stance, I talked about the difference between the peekaboo stance and a traditional boxing stance. Now, traditional boxing, when they slip punches, they just slip inside the wrist. Inside the wrist, like this. Slip, slip. Okay? It's just a short little head movement to avoid the punch. Nothing wrong with that. If that's your style, you can make it extremely effective. But in this video, we're talking about the peekaboo. So, traditional, basic slip, where peekaboo is more to the side. More to the side, and you're bending at the waist. Some people are more flexible, okay? And they can bend their upper body more. I'm not so much flexible anymore. I'm going to be 49 next month. I'm not as flexible as I used to be. So I kind of kick my hips out a little bit. So going side to side, outside my opponent's shoulder. The reason I want to go outside my opponent's shoulder, because that's the safest place to be. The last thing I want to do is be my head on his center line, where he's going to have maximum amount of power right down the middle. Okay? It doesn't mean I don't stay in these positions. I want to stay home, my head in the home position, but being able to draw punches and then slip them. Okay? So, head outside the shoulder. Also, to give you an example why that works good is, if my opponent throws a jab, I could slip the jab, same movement. But if he throws a jab cross, I can do one slip and both punches will go over my shoulder. I'll be able to slip both punches to both sides. He throws a jab here, I can slip. He throws a jab cross, I slip both, and they both go over my shoulder. Of course, everything in boxing takes timing. I know there's going to be people, well, I'll just follow your head. You know, anything can be countered. You can find loopholes in almost anything, okay? But it's all about timing, okay? Because if I'm consistently moving my head, am I going to get hit? Yes. But you're going to get hit a lot less than a fighter that leaves his head in the middle, okay? Or relies on his hands for defense, because I'm moving the target. A good example is, if you were a piece of boxing equipment and you were sparring, who would you rather be? A heavy bag or a double end bag? You know, the ball with the bungee cords? I'd rather be the double end bag because they're hard to hit. You want to be that fighter where you're moving your head and you're hard to hit and being unpredictable. So the peekaboo, the first movement is just slipping straight punches. Slipping straight punches all the way to the right, all the way to the left. I can also slip hooks. It's not preferred, but it can be done, because if I'm in that crouch position, he throws a hook comes out and around, okay? At the last minute, I can slip, and either if I squat down a little bit, that hook will go over my head, or if the hook hits me as I slip, I'm taking off some of that power and energy from my punch. But the rule you want to follow is, usually I slip straights and I weave hook punches or the round punch. So the first movement is just learning to slip side to side. The second movement is what I talked about with the footwork, is the knee bend. So from your fighting stance, I'm going to turn this, kick that heel out. I'm going to squat all the way down while keeping my head up. I'm just going to kick my butt out. Knee bend all the way down and up. all the way down and up. When I practice it, I go all the way down and all the way up. But imagine if my opponent throws a straight punch or a hook and I just do a knee bend, that punch is just gonna go right over my head. Now, the word of caution is when doing the knee bend is I don't always want to do the knee bend and keep my head in the center. Because when you're always going straight up and down, your opponent could possibly pick up on it and start bringing up the uppercut if you keep your head in the center. But the way to use it is you want to be able to be unpredictable with your head movement. Now, there's going to be times where you're just going to move. Humans are creatures of habits. We're going to build habits. Okay, but you got to pay attention, like in sparring or in a fight, that if your opponent is picking up on your head movement, maybe you're moving a certain way, you got to change it up. You got to change gears and change it up. So, knee bend, all the way down, all the way up. Where if I'm actually slipping a punch, I do it like a halfway down, just up and down, up and down. Imagine the hooks. Hooks coming at my head, knee bend. Straight punches, knee bend. But I want to be able to use these movements in combination. So I might slip, slip, knee bend. Okay? I might slip, knee bend, slip. Okay? So I can start adding in all three directions. So I can slip to the right, slip to the left, and then go under the punch by doing a knee bend, or some people call it a duck. So that's your second movement, is the knee bend. The third movement, and it's real simple. There's three movements: slipping, knee bend, and weaving. Weaving is that circular movement that you do with your upper body and your head, okay? And especially when you think about hooks. It's better to go under it, right? So in the beginning, how I teach the weave is if I'm gonna weave to my left, I sway a little bit. I'm not doing a full slip yet. I just sway and go under, okay? And you can see where if I had a marker taped onto my head and I sway and I go down and up, it's like I'm drawing a letter U, okay? Letter U. And when you're first practicing these movements, I want full range of motion, okay? Do the full range of motion. I see people start half-assing it. If you start half-assing the head movement and they start throwing power shots, you're not going to get out of the way, okay? So again, if I weave to my left, remember I'm in that peekaboo stance, that squared off peekaboo stance, and I'm in that medium crouch. Sway and weave, okay? And I can go all the way up or I can stay low, okay? So again, to the left, sway and weave. Now if I go back the other way, and I can weave back, making that circular motion, okay? So let's start to weave to the right. So I sway a little bit, start to sway, weave under. Okay, imagine a hook punch is coming. I sway a little bit and I go under it. Now I've seen people, they sway, they go down and then up, down and then up. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. To me, that's just a variation of the knee bend. Okay, but to do a proper weave, I'm gonna sway and weave. Okay, in both ways. Now, I like to drop and weave. Drop and weave. So what I mean by that is as let's say they throw a right hand or a right hook and overhand, I'm just gonna drop like a knee bend. I'm gonna do a combination of a knee bend and just drop into that weave. And I like to step out when I do it because then it can set up my counter punches. Okay, so again, I can just drop, weave, and go. I just like do a knee bend and then just drop into that. It's kind of like that V weave that I just talked about previously. But the traditional weave into Peekaboo is I'm gonna kind of sway and weave. Okay, stay low, medium crouch, eyes up. I'm not bending over looking at the ground where I can get hit in the back of the head and take my eyes off my opponent. Now there's an old school weave where you kind of just bend at the hip. Okay, you just kind of, I call it a head whip, where I just bend my upper body and just whip under it. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes me, since I'm tall, if I get caught in an upright position, I'll do that more because I just don't have time to drop down. But to do proper technique, I want to be in a crouch. I want to kind of sway a little bit, weave, okay? Sway and weave, making that circular letter U shot. Remember, when I weave, I want to weave outside the shoulders, just like the slips. Just like the slips, I want to weave outside the shoulders, because what you're going to find out is these head movement patterns, the slip-in, the knee bend, and the weaves, are not just tools to evade punches. They're actually tools to put you in the proper position to throw counter punches. So let me talk about that real quick. Not only are your slips, there to help to keep you from getting hit, they put you in a defensive position. So imagine if I slip to the side, now I'm in a safer position to be able to throw my counter punches. If I slip to the side, my head's outside the shoulder, I can throw my counter punches, okay? Just like if I weave to the outside, You're gonna see when you're studying and learning the Peekaboo style, it's all about getting to that outside firing position. So the firing position, either I accomplish getting to that position either by my slipping, my weaving, okay, or like I talked about in the footwork, is I'll spring to the side to cut that angle. So that is your Peekaboo basic. There's only 3 movements, okay? 3 movements is you got your slipping, you got your knee bend, and you got your weaving, okay? That is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day.